Have you ever considered what it's like to not just move to a new country, but to escape from a completely different universe? To walk away not only from your city or your parents, but from everything you've ever believed about truth, danger, and happiness. This isn't just immigration. This is psychological time travel, the experience of leaving the Soviet Union and arriving in the West. Let's rewind to the rest of a country of locked doors, lines for bread, and whispers in every kitchen. A place where news traveled slowly, often half-true or entirely invented. A place where children memorized the right answers, but never asked the real questions. Where every adult kept secrets even from themselves. So, what truly happens in the mind and heart of someone who leaves such a world behind and tries to build a new life in a place as open, unpredictable, and loud as America? Let's dive deep, following a journey from Soviet childhood through culture shock and psychological battles into the heart of adaptation and memory. Shadows of childhood. Every story starts in childhood. Imagine growing up in a world with strict rules, some on paper, some just understood. Children learn: never speak your mind at school unless you're sure. Don't repeat jokes you hear from adults. Smile at the right moments, but never too long. Many Soviet families lived in cramped apartments, 3 generations sharing 2 rooms. Privacy was precious. Even children learned to keep secrets, whispering only behind locked doors. Picture little Tanya, age 6, drawing a forbidden cartoon of Lenin at home, and her mother quickly burns it, terrified that a neighbor might see and report them. School textbooks were uniform. History was a set of myths, science sometimes mixed with politics. Every student memorized, we live in the most just country on earth. But every parent taught, don't believe everything you see on TV. Holidays revolved around state parades, standardized gifts, and Soviet heroes. Yet, inside, families held private, risky traditions, old prayers, secret recipes, photos of vanished relatives, old letters hidden in drawers. All these things, a mix of pride and regret. And beneath it all, fear. The knock at the door after midnight, the rumor that your best friend's parents suddenly vanished. Rival and culture shock. Now, imagine stepping off a plane in New York, Los Angeles, Toronto, or London. You gasp at the open sky, with advertisements flashing in color. The fact that every stranger smiles and greets you. The first shock is food. In Soviet stores, you might beg for apples or wait days for eggs. In America, supermarkets are enormous, filled with endless choices, 20 kinds of bread, trays of ice cream, colors and flavors you've only seen in movies. For many new arrivals, the shopping experience triggers anxiety, not joy. You wonder, is this real? Will it disappear tomorrow? Should I just buy black bread and canned fish like always? Some emigres would hoard food anyway, hiding tins and pasta in closets, just in case. A memory from childhood, impossible to let go. Second shock, social rituals. In the USSR, people avoided direct talk. They spoke in code, used dark humor, or stayed silent. In the West, everyone seems honest, open, sometimes almost naive. But here's the twist. The first Soviet jokes told in English don't land. They sound depressing or confusing. People ask, why are you so negative? Little by little, you learn to smile on cue, engage in small talk, tell stories simply. But inside, something tugs. Is it safe to trust these people? Making friends can be hard. Westerners bond quickly over sports, hobbies, school. For a Soviet soul, trust is sacred. You choose friends for life, guarded by loyalty, shared secrets, and often the fear that betrayal could cost you everything. Date, fall in love. Many who left the USSR admit, expressing feelings openly: love, grief. Fear was more dangerous than any border crossing. Humor, trauma, and memory. Listen carefully. Soviet jokes weren't just jokes. They were survival tools. When food was gone, heat failed, or the news was dark, people told anecdotes about leaders drinking vodka, bureaucrats lost in paperwork, children outsmarting teachers. It was a game of irony where the punchline often meant, we all know the truth, but let's pretend. Now, in a new country, this humor becomes a lesson in translation. Western people see wit as optimism or cleverness. For the Soviet mind, laughter soothes wounds that cannot be discussed. Americans ask, why must everything be a tragedy? Immigrants answer, because sometimes it really is. Another hidden layer, trauma. For older immigrants, the fear of police, the instinct to hide, The chronic anxiety around authority never fades. A surprise knock at the door in America can still send chills decades after escaping the KGB's shadow. Families keep emergency bags. Hidden cash children inherit these rituals, sometimes without knowing why. Stories about war, famine, betrayal, and sacrifice echo at dinner at once healing and haunting.iv. Adapting and building a new life. Every culture shock is followed, sooner or later, by adaptation. Some embrace Western customs, Thanksgiving, proms, football games, even Halloween. Others build communities. Little Russia, Brighton Beach, Ukrainian village, Russian tea rooms. There, old foods return, borscht, pierogi, homemade vodka. There are midnight conversations about politics, nostalgia, relationships, dreams. Many second-generation kids face double pressure. Parents expect them to excel, survive at any cost. Never trust outside their own circle. At school, these children become mediators, translating home rituals to classmates, hiding their family's thriftiness, worries, hopes. Some succeed wildly. Doctors, business owners, artists harnessing Soviet discipline and American optimism. Others struggle learning to judge who to trust, when to risk, when to speak up or stay silent. V. Real story. Sarah, 22, recalls her parents waking her up for the queue. They waited 6 hours for oranges in winter, hiding an extra ration under her coat. In America, Sarah can buy oranges every day, but she still worries they'll run out, stuffing her fridge just in case. Ivan moved to the U.S. At 15. In Russia, he learned to lie about grades, flatter teachers, always keep spare change. At his American high school, he aced every math test but felt lost during lunch, afraid of being too smart or too foreign. Maria, a grandmother, still hides birthday gifts for months before sharing them. For her, celebration is a brief, fragile thing best not wasted in one moment. Vi. Trauma and healing. Psychologists note that some Soviet immigrants show signs of PTSD, trouble with authority, nightmares, need to control small things, difficulty saying I love you. These wounds pass down. Children sense the tension, the caution, the rituals. Healing takes years, sometimes never happens. Western counselors teach it's safe to talk, but for the Soviet soul, silence is comfort. Yet humor, poetry, music, art flourish. Some immigrants find new freedom in writing novels, performing stand-up, even going viral on TikTok or YouTube, sharing bittersweet tales about old bread, secret recipes, lost languages. Vi. American perspective. Why it fascinates for English-speaking viewers. These stories deliver what they crave: raw honesty, survival, emotion, not just dates and data. Culture shock with psychological depth. What it's really like to see abundance after deprivation, freedom after censorship. Personal stories, not just history lessons, moments that feel lived, not taught. Funny, weird, sometimes dark, because nothing is more fascinating than a world you never knew existed. It's like watching a Cold War thriller, but from inside the hero's mind, not just the headlines. Vi. Rituals of memory, never forgetting. Some keep Soviet traditions alive: old newspapers, faded photos, recipes from grandparents, songs hummed on quiet nights. Children of immigrants visit Russia or Ukraine, searching for the village, the apartment block, the school, discovering echoes of a past that shapes today. Every American city has families who arrived with nothing, rebuilt everything, and still feel the old world's pulse in their daily life. Ix. Lessons and hope. As emigration from Vasa teaches more than geography. Don't take freedom for granted. Live with gratitude, but honor caution and memory. Be curious. Question the stories you grew up with, the rules that seem normal. Reach out. Everyone's pain is different, but stories connect. X. Ending. The bridge between worlds. Soviet emigrant never fully leaves home. Inside every new citizen is a child who learned to hide, a teenager who learned to adapt, a parent who learned to sacrifice, but also a dreamer, a builder, a survivor with lessons for everyone. America, Canada, Britain, all these nations are richer for these stories. Next time you meet someone with an accent, a story about the old country, don't just listen, ask questions. You might discover a whole universe hidden behind a shy smile and a joke that finally, this time, makes sense, because though the USSR is gone, its echoes remain in breadlines remembered, in songs hummed, in courage passed down through every generation.